So these four groups that I break civil liberties into are, number one, political liberties; number two, protections from government tyranny; number three, religious protections; and number four, protections for those who are accused of crimes. So first, political liberties. I call these political liberties because without them, you cannot have democracy. These four civil liberties are essential to democracy, and without them, democracy does not exist. Number one, freedom of speech. Number two, freedom of the press. Number three, the right to assemble or group together and have a demonstration. And number four, to petition government. In other words, to write down the problems that you see with government and present them. So again, freedom of speech, freedom of press, the right to assemble, and the right to petition government. Again, without these, you can't have democracy. Without free speech, you can't make your case and argue against what government is doing. If you don't have a free press, how are we supposed to get information about government? Information that is unbiased and isn't directed by government itself. If we don't have the right to get together and join together and assemble, then how can we have political conventions, or how can we hold political rallies? And if we can't petition government, well then how can we express that we have problems with the way government is conducting itself? All four of these exist within the First Amendment to the Constitution. So they all exist within the First Amendment, and that can tell us that the people that wrote the Constitution and wrote the Bill of Rights assumed that these four were pretty important civil liberties, if all four of them are listed in the very First Amendment to the Constitution. The second type of civil liberty that we're going to talk about, I call protections from government tyranny. So, tyranny, or a tyrannical government, is a government that has absolute and arbitrary power, meaning that government can do whatever it wants to do. So these are protections from a government that can do whatever it wants to do. So number one, the protection from unreasonable searches and seizures. We have protections in the Fourth Amendment that say there needs to be probable cause. There needs to be a judge who agrees that there's probable cause, and they need to sign an actual warrant before law enforcement can enter our homes and look for incriminating evidence. So that's number one. Number two, the guarantee of just compensation for private property. This one is very controversial because what it means is this: your property, as in your home, say, and your house, are in the way of something that government wants to do. If they have good cause or reason to take your property, they can. That's called eminent domain. It's actually been in the news a lot recently. So if the government wants to build a railroad and your house is in the way, chances are you're going to have to move. But the Constitution says that you need to be justly compensated for your property. Government can't just take it. They actually need to pay you for your property. A third protection from government tyranny is one that we've talked about previously in this class, and that is your habeas corpus rights. That means, again, that You can't just be locked up without being charged. It means, remember, habeas corpus is Latin for to present the body. It means that your body needs to physically be in court, presented in court, and you need to be told what you've been charged with. And then you get to stand trial physically in court. Again, it means that you can't just be locked up without being charged. And clearly, that's a protection from government tyranny or absolute government. And then also, we've talked about previously in this class, we have protections from ex post facto laws. That means after the fact. And we have protection against bills of attainder. Ex post facto laws and bills of attainder, I will explain more in the text of this book. I'm not going to go too deeply into it right now. So these are the first two types of civil liberties: political liberties and protections from government tyranny. On the next video, we'll talk about the other two types of civil liberties.